Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the bomber number LB4310-350-633. This is a 3.5 by 3.5 single acting spring hinge, full mortise, residential weight, lube bearing, steel base, satin brass plated. So let's dissect all of that. First of all, it's bomber spring hinge. LB means that it is a lube bearing, maintenance-free sort of construction from Bomber. The 4310 is a reference to the fact that this is a residential grade, meaning that it is the leaf thickness is about 96 thousandths. Yep, 96 thousandths thick, and that the screw holes are a template pattern and the corners are square. Next up, we've got 350, and that's a reference to the size. That means this hinge is 3.5 tall and 3.5 wide. The 633 means a couple of things: that it's satin brass, but it's also a steel base hinge. Okay. Typical spring hinge for residential doors, where you need a typical template pattern here. Speaking of the screw holes, screws are included in a complementary finish, all wood, all machine screws. We said next that it was single acting. It is certainly a single acting spring hinge. Okay, for left hand doors or for right hand doors. Full mortise. You can see from the swag on the hinge leaf there that when the leaves are brought parallel, they're intended to be mortised flush to the edge of the door and frame. Residential weight, we discussed that with the 96 thousandths leaf thickness, steel base, satin brass. So it's a spring hinge. You're going to use this on a 3.5 inch hinge. Is going to be used typically on 1 3/8 doors. There is a link below this video to the template, which shows everything important dimensionally about this hinge, so I won't beleaguer the rest of the points here, and installation instructions. They're probably going to be printed on the back of the box that you get them in as well, but if they're not, you've got a link there as well. Now, in addition to the screws, you're going to get a package. That package is going to have a tension rod in it and then a tension pin. This package has two because on this client's order there are two hinges, so you get two tension pins. Now, to set the tension, with the tension collar pointed up, you insert the tension rod into one of the holes and turn it clockwise. And as you do that, you reveal new additional holes. Okay? And it's into one of those new holes that you would insert one of the tension pins. Bomber says, don't go more than 3 holes over. Very effective way at closing doors behind you. Although not my preferred way of doing it. I think a hydraulic closer is a better way to do it. However, spring hinges fill a very important need in the marketplace. There is a guide below this video saying that assuming doors no bigger than 3 foot by 7 foot. If you've got doors up to 85 pounds, 2 spring hinges and a regular hinge. Up to 110 pounds, go 3 spring hinges. This is compatible with standard 3.5 inch hinges in terms of the axis of pivoting, so you won't have a problem mixing and matching. But I'm a fan of all spring hinges, even maybe if you're not sure that you need it. It's better to have it, and here's why. Well, first of all, they're not really that expensive. Second of all, the amount of stored energy that's left in the spring at the very closing end, if it's very underpowered in terms of how many springs are on the door, there's not much left to get the door actually closed, because what has to happen is so much of the energy is expended just getting the door moving, okay, that there's very little left. The problem with not having enough spring hinges also is that the tendency is to turn up the spring so high to get the door moving so fast that it can slam and certainly not close predictably every time. I have found when I've opted towards all spring hinges is that I can share the load better against all of the other spring hinges on the door, okay, but still preserving enough stored energy in the spring that the door can not only overcome the resistance of the air pressure of the door closing, but the resistance of the latch bolt striking the strike plate on the frame to overcome that friction. and to get it to close reliably every time without forcing the door to slam or moving too quickly. I think of a tugboat. They don't go very fast, but they can pull a lot of weight. And the same sort of idea is when you have a lot of spring hinges. That's my experience. I've had to adjust them in all different seasons, and I have just found that doors with one spring hinge when they ought to have had two, or two when they should have had three, just don't nearly work as well, as the bottom line. Last thing I'd like to point out to you is the Bomber logo. Right above it, it says Made in USA, a fact that Bomber is quite proud of, as am I to be a distributor of theirs. And this is indeed available in several different finishes as well. If you have any questions on the Bomber LB4310-350-633 spring hinge or any other Bomber product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.